Daf Yomi, tractate by Metzia, page 60b, top of the page, talking about the reason why the rabbis not only allow a merchant to sell below the market price, but even say that they should be remembered positively. The Gemara explains it is due to the fact that by lowering the price, he eases the market rate. In other words, his actions lead to the establishment of a lower market price. Not necessarily. He does it just once, not necessarily. You have to do it over a long period of time. But, okay, let's just move on. The Mishnah teaches, and one may not sift ground beans to remove the waste and charge a higher price. This is the statement of Abba Shaul. And the rabbis permit doing so. The Gemara comments, who are the rabbis whose opinion is cited in the Mishnah? It is Rabbi Acha. As it is taught in the Braita, Rabbi Acha permits mixing, sifting, and the like, in the case of an item in which the change is obvious. The Mishnah taught one may neither adorn a person nor an animal nor vessels. The sages taught one may neither stiffen the hair of an animal to create the impression that it is more voluminous in hair than it is, nor inflate innards sold as meat to create the impression that it is a more substantial piece of meat, nor soak meat in water in order to change its color and create the impression that it is a choice cut. The Gemara asks, what is the meaning of one may not stiffen the hair of an animal? Here in Babylonia, they explained that it means to feed the animal bran water, which inflates its intestines and causes its hair to stand on end. Zeiri said, in the name of Rav Kahana, it means scrubbing the hair clean to increase its volume. The Gemara relates, Shmuel permitted sellers to place fringes on a cloak. Rav Yehuda permitted them to clean and adorn ornamented garments. Rabbah permitted them to taper linen garments to cause them to appear more fine. Rava permitted them to draw arrows to ornament garments. Rav Papa bar Shmuel permitted them to draw baskets for ornamentation. The Gemara asks, but didn't we learn in the Mishnah that one may neither adorn a person, nor an animal, nor vessels? The Gemara answers, this is not difficult, as this series of cases where the sages permitted adorning merchandise are cases of new merchandise. It may be decorated, as doing so merely enhances its intrinsic beauty. That ruling in the Mishnah, according to which adornment is prohibited, is referring to cases of old merchandise, as the adornment is meant to conceal its flaws. The Gemara asks, adornment of a person, what is it? The Gemara relates, it is as in that incident involving a certain elderly slave who went and dyed his head and beard black to create a younger impression. He came before Rava and said to him, purchase me as your slave. And Rava said to him that there is a rabbinic adage, let the poor be members of your household. I follow their advice and therefore do not require a slave. If I need assistance, the paupers who frequent my house can assist me. The slave came before Rav Papa bar Shmuel, who purchased him. One day, Rav Papa said to the slave, give me water to drink. The slave went out and removed the dye and whitened the hair on his head and his beard. The slave said to Rav Papa, see that I am older than your father, and I am unfit to serve you. Rav Papa read about himself, the righteous person is delivered from trouble, and another comes in his stead. See Proverbs 11:8. Rav Papa applied the verse to the incident of the slave. The righteous person, Rava, was spared the problem of the slave, while another, Rav Papa bar Shmuel, came in his stead. Hadron Allah Hazav. We completed the fourth chapter of fourth chapter of Metzia, the chapter of Hazahav. And we continue on. We shall we shall return to you for a chapter of Bava Metzia. I believe it says off. I want to make sure we get it right there. Azahav. At any rate, let's continue on to the next chapter. Okay. Mishnah, we're starting the 5th chapter, Ezu Neshech. The Torah states the prohibition against taking interest. Let's just have a look here. We'll be able to see. Okay, at any rate. Mishnah says, Ezu Neshech ve'ezu tarbis. The Torah states the prohibition against taking interest, and if your brother becomes impoverished and his hand falters with you, then you shall support him. Whether a stranger or native, he shall live with you. You shall not take from him interest or increase, Neshech or tarbis. You shall fear your God, and your brother shall live with you. You shall not give him your money with Neshech and with tarbis, or marbis, whatever. You shall not give him your food. Leviticus 25, 35 to 37, the Mishnah asks, which is Neshech and which is tarbis? Which is the case in which there is Neshech? Which, with regard to one who lends another a selah worth 4 dinars for 5 dinars to be paid later, or one who lends another 2 se'ah of wheat for 3 se'ah to be returned later. This is prohibited as it is taking interest. And which is the case in which there is tarbis? It is the case of one who enters into a transaction that yields an increase in the produce beyond its investment. How so? For example, one acquired wheat from another at the price of 1 kor of wheat for 1 gold dinar, worth 25 silver dinars, with the wheat to be supplied at a later date. And such was the market price of wheat at the time he acquired it. The price of 1 kor of wheat then increased and stood at 30 dinars. At that point, the buyer said to the seller, "Give me all of my wheat now, as I wish to sell it and purchase wine with it." The seller said to him, "Since it is ultimately wine that you want, not wheat, each kor of your wheat is considered by me to be worth 30 dinars, and you have the right to collect its value in wine for me." And in this case, the seller did not have wine in his possession. If wine then appreciates in value, the result will be an interest-bearing transaction, as the buyer collects from the seller wine worth more than the wheat for which he paid. Gemara, the Talmud says, the Gemara asks, from the fact that in explaining the term tarbis, the Tana sets aside the topic of interest by Torah law, which is interest decided upon at the time of a loan, and instead explicates a case of lending with interest that is prohibited by rabbinic law. One can conclude by inference that by Torah law, Neshech and tarbis are one matter, and there is no halachic distinction between them. The Gemara asks, but aren't the verses written using the term Neshech for interest, that is on a loan of money, and tarbis or marbis, which are cognates of the term ribis for interest, that is on a loan of food? This is, as the verse states, you shall not give him your money with Neshech, and with marbis you shall not give him your food. Leviticus 25:37. The Gemara asks, and can you understand that there is Neshech without tarbis and tarbis without Neshech? The term Neshech, from a root meaning bite, connotes loss to the borrower, while the term tarbis, literally increase, connotes profit for the lender. The Gemara asks, what are the circumstances where there could be neshech without tarbis. If it is in a case where one lends to another 100 prutot with the agreement to be repaid 120, and initially 100 copper prutot are worth 1/6 of a dinar, and ultimately when he pays, 120 prutot are worth 1/6 of a dinar, this is not an example of one without the other. Although one might say that there is neshech as the lender reduces the borrower's assets, since the lender takes in payment from the borrower coins that he did not give him in the loan. And there is no tarbit, as there is no profit for the lender in this transaction, since he lent him 1/6 of a dinar and received from him 1/6 of a dinar. That is not correct. The Gemara explains ultimately, if you go according to the initial value, when the loan was granted, there is neshech and there is tarbis, as the borrower agreed to pay more than he received. If you go according to the ultimate value, when the loan was repaid, there is neither neshech nor is there tarbis, as he repaid only the value he received. Additionally, what are the circumstances in which there could be tarbis without neshech? If it is in a case where one lends to another 100 prutot with the agreement to be repaid 100, and initially 100 copper prutot are worth 1/6 of a dinar, and ultimately when he is repaid, 100 prutot are worth 1/6 of a dinar. This is not an example of one without the other. The Gemara explains, if you go according to the initial value where the loan was granted, there is neither neshech nor is there tarbis, as he has repaid only the value that he lent. If you go according to the ultimate value, when the loan was repaid, there is neshech and there is tarbis, as the value of 100 prutot has increased. Rather, Rava said, you do not find neshech without tarbis, nor tarbis without neshech, and the verse distinguished between them only so that lending with interest always involves violating two prohibitions. The sages taught in a Braita, the verse states, you shall not give him your money with neshech, and with marbit, you shall not give him your food. Leviticus 25:37, I have derived only that there is a prohibition of neshech for a loan of money, and a prohibition of ribis for a loan of food. From where is it derived that there is neshech with regard to a loan of food as well? The Braita answers, a different verse states, you shall not lend with interest to your brother neshech of money, neshech of food, neshech of anything that is lent with interest. Deuteronomy 23:20. The Braita continues, from where is it derived that there is ribbit with regard to a loan of money? The verse states, neshech of money.